This is WEBurlesque.
Hi, this is Dandy Dillinger.
Hello, this is Nami Flair.
This is Obscura Fox.
Hey, this is Jessabelle Thunder.
Hi, this is Chestnut Belafonte, and you're listening to WEBurlesque Season 10.
Get right into it.
This is WEBurlesque, the podcast, and I am your host, Viktor Devonne, and through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to nightlife individuals in the field of cabaret, drag, and burlesque, and today is no exception. I have your latest Hollywood Chanteuse on the line. This is Vita Devour. Hello, hello.
Hi, nice to meet with you.
Nice to have you here.
You can notice probably in my voice, sorry, I was gonna say, you can probably notice in my voice that I've spent it all in Hollywood. It's gone now.
This is a couple of days after. How long is your recovery time usually?
I anticipate, well, usually it would only be for like a day or so, but we've just started the Vancouver Burlesque Festival last night as well. And so I have more days of cheering ahead, fortunately.
Goodness. So we're recording this on a Wednesday. It actually happens to be April 1st, however, no jokes aside. The festival starts on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's actually really lovely. Every year we have the Buffy's, which is like our local awards show, and that's always like midweek. And so we have like the opportunity to like gather the community before the festival starts and like give out serious and silly awards to each other. And then there's often performances as well, and often the opportunity for some newer performers to perform in that space too. So it's really like a lovely pre-festival community event.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm no stranger to silly awards, so I appreciate those. I find that a lot of times we get stuck as burlesque people that we're very self-congratulatory a lot of the times, but I like to think that we are amplifying our friends and colleagues as well when we do that, not just rewarding ourselves.
No, absolutely. And also it's like, why not? Like there's so much that's tongue in cheek in burlesque that I'm like, why are all of our awards don't have to be super serious, you know? Like let's get a little silly with it.
Well, let's get that out of the way then. You are going for a super serious in a couple of weeks. As of the time of this recording, it hasn't happened yet, but you're going to the Burlesque Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm flabbergasted. I'm nervous. I'm all of the above.
Are you singing?
No. I'm not singing. Thank God. It's one element to take out. One less thing to be nervous about.
Understood. So for you, was it singing, dancing, or something else that came first for you?
It's hard to say. I come from a background. It's interesting because I wouldn't necessarily call myself I would never have called myself like a singer or a dancer throughout life growing up. I'm somebody who has always sung and has always danced and has always performed through life, but I never really had like a stage for that. And so those were always a part of my existence from being a little wee tot. And I kind of like dabbled in music theater when I was in university, and I did like 2 years of dance as a kid. And then finally, when I was in my 20s, I was like, I want to do this so bad. So then I just started going to dance classes. And I guess that was the first thing that I did that like, where I started like training, so to speak. So I suppose dance would have come first, but all the other elements were there all along too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense to me because so for this past weekend, at the time of this recording, obviously weeks have gone by, but for our context, when you were at the Hollywood Burlesque Festival, you did "I Can't Do It Alone" from the musical Chicago, great Candor and song, and what I think it was specifically the film arrangement that you did. Yeah. Which Captain Zeta-Jones obviously blows out of the park, but if you look at the film, I feel, this is my estimation, so it's never more obvious than in nowadays slash hot honey rag, that there is a Roxy who will learn and will work and will get it all right, but it still takes a lot of practice. And then there's a Velma Kelly who is by no means working any less hard, but it comes so naturally and just, if you look at the two of them, just the differences in Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones is just gliding into it, and Renee Zellweger is keeping up.
That's a very apt description.
Do you think you are a Velma Kelly in practice or in nature?
You know what? I think so. I always saw myself as the Renee Zellweger in this situation when I was younger, but that's mostly because I grew up in a household where my sister was the performer, and I was like, well, she's the Velma, duh. Like, she's doing this. She's the one that it comes naturally to. I'm just here kind of like snapping in the background, trying to be like, I'm in your ensemble, like I'm doing this too. But now that I'm somebody that's on stage myself, I'm like, oh, this is so at home to me. And I don't think that I would have necessarily seen that in myself before. But I feel very at home. I feel very grounded on stage. I feel very grounded being in front of an audience. I think it's one of those things that, like, as you were describing it, like, this feels really like pompous to say for myself, but noticing the way that others approach performance and the grounding that they have to do for themselves, or like the hyping that they have to do for themselves, I'm like, oh, I'm really lucky that I do feel very, very comfortable approaching performance.
It's funny, and this is, I guess, kind of a commentary on Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I don't mean it, and it's not this. Hello, Catherine, I know you're listening. But she's so natural as Velma Kelly in a way that I don't see in some of her other work, where I sort of see an affectation. So I know she was at home there, but there still is work and practice, and, you know, if a role works, then a role works. Yeah. And I feel that, for example, I didn't see her live, but I saw her Tony Awards performance, and I listened to the recording of A Little Night Music. It's a little forced for me. It's just a little forced for me. So I think sometimes it doesn't quite lend itself. It doesn't always work. But when you have those components together, it makes sense. How long have you been putting it all together on stage as a showgirl?
Well, it's really interesting to talk about that. I've been performing as a burlesque performer, like seriously as a soloist, for the past 4 years. And I think that everything that you're talking about is kind of like been my journey with performance too, where everything else that I did was fine, but it felt forced. Like, I never really felt like a dancer. I never really felt like quite like a musical theater performer. It was always something that I was like, I can step into this world and I can get by. I can like kind of like make it enough, but it's never something that really felt as at home for me, or I don't think necessarily would have like landed with the audience in the same way. Like, I feel like my like Catherine Zeta-Jones and other roles would have shown up in those other spaces for me, and like the Velma Kelly is my burlesque, if that makes sense. And I think that there's an element of like finding the thing that you're like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. And then, like you were saying with Velma, like obviously there's a ton of practice and theory that's going into that work still. Like I really love the element of working your ass off so hard so that when you step on stage, you can let go. You know, like when you're like, I've done the stuff behind the scenes. I've figured out who I am up there. And then when I go, I can just be like in it, and I don't have to think actively as much. That's what burlesque feels like.
Yeah, it's funny. It's we'll talk more about you and less about Velma Kelly in just a second. But to conclude the thought, I always think it's amusing that two of her big numbers, her big solos in that show, are her recreating duets. Like, we don't talk about it, but technically all that jazz, she's supposed to be doing it with somebody else.
Yeah,
and the ensemble just has to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. And then in Cell Block Tango too, same thing.
A bit, yeah. Well, that one she depending on your production, she has those folks around her.
True.
Do you thrive in an ensemble setting as well?
Yes and no. I find I love working with people, and when I get the chance to be on stage with people, I think I do thrive. Like once I am able to I really love the energy of feeding off of each other. I find my brain, specifically in burlesque, I find my brain really has a hard time conceptualizing the ensemble in the same way. Like when I'm creating an act, I feel like I often see it as a soloist and I can kind of see the whole through line. And then when I'm creating group numbers or duets or trios or whatever it is, I have a harder time in the creation process, but in the performance, I love it. So it's just a bit of a different, slower approach, I guess.
Have you produced yet, or would you?
Have I produced? Yeah. I have. I'm not producing a ton now because I'm traveling so much, and so it's hard to do both. But
busy.
Just busy, you know. But I started producing pretty much when I started performing. Luckily, not on my own by any means. That's a beast I would never want to try to do right from the get-go, but one of my mentors at the time, Portia Favreau, has produced a ton, and so she and I kind of naturally just started producing together because I was working in this like little brewery at the time, and I was like, I think they would like to have burlesque shows. Like, do you want to do that? And she was like, let's do it together. And so I really got the chance to kind of just like learn on the go and with like very active mentorship too. So we produced together for years. And then I started taking on a couple solo projects and stuff too, which I also love that side of it.
Yeah, it does take a different mindset. It certainly, as we mentioned, like the skill level of different things. This one, I think, is there's administration and there's an organization that is required. I personally have felt attacked all of my life as a Virgo that I'm supposed to be far more organized than I really am.
Yeah.
But I think what that ends up meaning is that whatever neurodivergence I'm applying to my Virgoosity, that's how I organize things. So it's still there. It's still all there. It's just a fucking mess.
Yeah, I get it. One of my co-producers is a Virgo, and God bless her because she, my type B brain needs her type A brain, but then also the neurospicy's there too. So then I'm like, okay, this is good because I can speak to that side of things. Like I'm like, there's just the right mix of chaos and like being like last minute being like, what about if we did this? And I'm like, great, but there's still the spreadsheets, and I'm like, I need both.
What was it like traveling from Canada into this exciting world of the United States right now, particularly with the airports and everything?
I mean, specifically with the airports, it was quite simple this time, which I was surprised by, especially in the wake of everything happening this past week with everything at the airports. I was very nervous. I'm always nervous going over the border to perform in the States, even before this administration, because it's always a gamble anyways, especially
you go
performing
to LAX?
I went through LAX, yeah. I find that flying specifically, I always talk about this because I do a touring workshop, and I always talk about flying. I always am a little bit less nervous, mainly because I fly out of Vancouver and we have customs on our side. So I don't have to wait till I'm in the country to go through customs, which gives me just such a bigger peace of mind because if anything went wrong, I'm not being detained in America. I'm being, questioned and sent back home. And so obviously that would be horrible as is, but there's a little bit of safety there. Whereas, and then I also find that, knock on wood, usually there's a few less questions flying than going on the land border. Cause like I'm in Vancouver, we're like steps away from Seattle. And then from there, steps away from Portland, which has, both of those scenes have their own fantastic, thing going on. And I love performing down there, but I'm always like very trepidatious to go over the land border because that one really freaks me out. But yeah, everything was very smooth. I didn't see any ICE presence in the airports this time round.
Well, in California, we're a little bit more cranky about them, which is nice. Yeah. Which
is very nice. Yeah. And lines were short, which also I think was helpful because TSA people were in a very good mood. So, but it's nerve-wracking every time. It's nerve-wracking, even pre-Trump. It's especially nerve-wracking in this day and age. Yeah. It's not something I ever take lightly whenever I'm making the choice to go over the border.
I get you. Are you have you hit your 30s yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm 42, so I don't know how close in age we are, but I flew very little, and I was an adolescent before
Mhm.
9/11. So most of my flying professionally, all of my flying professionally, and all of my flying as an adult were after a lot of stuff had changed, either through the
Yeah.
Patriot Act or through what seemed to be a very arbitrary um, decisions, that were being made.
Mhm.
And now, I don't know if this is true everywhere, but here they're not telling you to take your shoes off anymore. They're things are adjusting. I still
Yeah.
they can't get through that my baby powder being questioned, but okay.
Baby powder.
Yeah, I use it for my foundation, but it's
But
loose
what if it's
powder.
question?
Because it could
Okay.
be anything. It really
Got
could
it.
be anything.
Got it.
I mean, I don't think they think it's anthrax per se, but at the very least, it could be something. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
contraband, what it can look like in all forms, but at the very least,
Yeah.
when I've done my
Yeah.
makeup in my car, I am aware that it could look like I've done cocaine. It would look like I'm really bad at doing cocaine, but at the very least, it could look like, a little
Yeah.
Scarface moment.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of money to throw around.
I was
Just
going to say,
have
you
it
would have to be
everywhere.
very rich if you were able to just spread the coke all over your face.
So as someone who had to travel in, have you always been in Vancouver?
Have I always been in Vancouver?
Mm-hmm.
Since doing burlesque, yes. I grew up in Ontario, just above New York State.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been very close to the border. We did a lot of traveling when I was a kid through the States just because it was always there and it was always go over and get our cheap gas. But we never flew. I never flew pre 9/11. We were a very road trip kind of family. But then, yeah, since doing any professional traveling, I've always been in Vancouver.
Where else in the States have you had an opportunity to visit?
When I was
perform specifically.
To perform? Okay.
Yeah.
I've done a lot up and down the coast. I did this big tour, through Washington, Oregon, and California a couple of years back. So hitting up a lot of cities along that coastline. Been to New Orleans to perform, to New York. Where else have I been in the States? Colorado, New Mexico. Heading back to Phoenix shortly. A lot of my performing on the road has been more in Europe, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else in the States I've been to perform. I think that's mostly it. Yeah.
Where in Europe?
All over. I've been through Ireland, Belgium, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark, going back to Bulgaria soon, which is fun. New place I haven't been yet.
Wow.
I was up in Scotland. Yeah, all over.
Is it a bit of a wanderlust situation, or you just find yourself in these situations?
Yeah, definitely a wanderlust situation. Before I was performing burlesque, pre-COVID, I was a huge traveler. I've always kind of structured my life in a way that I can take off for a month at a time, or maybe 2 months at a time every given year, to just go. Or when I was younger, I remember being away. I went backpacking for a year and all that kind of stuff. I've always had that wanderlust in me, and so. Obviously throughout COVID, that was not a very present part of my life. And then I started doing burlesque in that time. And when I started learning about festivals and stuff, I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I can go somewhere new and dance there. And then the more and more I got to do the festival circuit, the more I got to make connections with people elsewhere that were just doing other shows. And then I've naturally kind of structured my entire performance, my career around traveling and touring and all that.
Yeah. Well, that's such a blessed existence, absolutely. And there are certainly folks who never get out of their small towns and have an opportunity to. So that's so. I mean, it obviously costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of wear and tear on oneself, and I would think that particularly as an entertainer, you wouldn't necessarily find your place. I hate to say tribe because that has its own but you wouldn't necessarily find all of these different places that would love you so specifically. So what do you feel that you bring to your burlesque that makes you so internationally accessible? Is there something that is, well, as opposed to something that'd be like, oh, that's so American, oh, that's so niche in this regard? To get that kind of accessibility is I think a great strength, and to be wanted in so many places. So what do you think that your burlesque represents for you that makes it so bookable?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, I'm going to preface this in two ways. One being that I've definitely been places where what I do doesn't land as much. And so
I'm sure you've also been turned out too. People have said, yeah.
Tons. That's all part of the game. But yeah, there's definitely been places where my particular brand or style of burlesque isn't what people expect or want. And I'm like, okay, well, now we know this is not the scene for this. And also I have to preface it by saying too, that I'm like, I also acknowledge that my particular aesthetic, as outdated as it is, in line with a lot of, it's very easy to be accepted cross globally, like I'm a thin white gal. And so I hate to say this, but it's true that I'm like, I'm not challenging a lot of people's narratives on nudity and beauty standards and stuff like that.
Yeah,
exactly. So I know that there's that. I also think as a performer, as far as like what I bring that makes it really, I think what I do that's really palatable for many different scenes is that I'm a very, very joyful, and fun performer. I've gotten this feedback a lot, and I also know it should be true because I know how I feel on stage, that I think I'm having more fun than anyone else in the room when I'm performing. And I think that really reads to a lot of audience, whether or not what I'm doing is necessarily what somebody expected from a burlesque show or what their particular style is. I think it's often quite undeniable watching me that I'm really, really in the moment and I'm having a really good time. And that brings that out in other people. A lot of what I do is really campy. It's not very serious. It may have like an air of seriousness to it in like the costuming or the way that I step out on stage, but there's always this moment of lightness where I kind of like break and I let people in. And I think that really translates across languages and across different like scenes.
You're not quite the smoldering temptress or kitten with a whip per se.
No, not at all. Not at all. I also think that because the aesthetic that I lean into, like I love glamour and the glitz of burlesque, and so I find that a lot of my costuming it replicates classic burlesque a lot of the time, and that's intentional. So I'm creating this image, and I'm feeding into like this over the top glamorous idea of what burlesque is, and so if people are coming for the rhinestones, they get that. But then they're staying for the laughter,
Yeah, it sort of breaks the tension. It's very, very difficult, and I have a great deal of respect for the steely performers who go out there looking like they will beat the shit out of you, like this pro-dom burlesque sort of behavior. But it's very, very hard for that to translate because there's a way of being cold and untouchable and Jessica Rabbit on stage, and that can very easily translate into either boring, bored, mad, false in some capacity, or just aloof in a manner that's not fitting. It's very hard to bring an audience in on that.
It is. Yeah,
That
I
said,
find
comedy is hard too because you got to make the audience want you as well. So
yeah. No, definitely the smoldering type is, I find it so challenging. I have so much respect for the people that can do it really well. It's definitely something a skill I would love to acquire more, but I don't think that I'm totally there yet. But the people that do it well blow my mind, but it is challenging to not lean into any of those things that you just said. And I also think that it's especially challenging because I often forget as a burlesque performer that, nudity and hypersexuality are not explicitly part of everybody's life in the same way that we're exposed to as performers. Like, we're very used to seeing people be smoldering and be fabulous and be very in their bodies and very sensual or sexual. And the audiences that we're approaching aren't necessarily as explicit with that in their day-to-day lives. And so coming to a show and have it being bam, 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 one after another of these like hyper sexual smoldering acts, I think it can make people really curl in and just feel uncomfortable, because then they have to kind of confront their own feelings around that. And that can be too much sometimes. And so I love when there's those little breaks of lightness. And I think that just gives the audience a chance to be like, okay, thank God. Or like, or this person's a dork too, or they're not that cool. Like I think that really helps, and just like let them unclench their butts for a minute.
Hi, I'm Jen Ponton.
And I'm Lillian Bustle.
And we're the hosts of All the Fucks,
a podcast about vulnerability.
But it's more than just that. It's nostalgia.
It's unrequited crushes.
It's the mortifying moments that make you want to crawl back inside your own belly button.
Ooh, and somehow it's sometimes about pelicans.
A pelican allegory, if you will.
Oh, I will.
So if your heart has ever felt like a skinned knee,
oh, you'll fit right in as one of our fuck buddies.
All the Fucks. A storytelling podcast wherever you listen.
Hey, this is Viktor Devonne, and I would like to thank the patrons on patreon.com/WEBurlesque for throwing dollar bills at me. Let me just say, it feels really, really nice. So if you have the opportunity to throw dollar bills at someone, do it. They'll remember you. I would like to thank my name, Devin, Courtney, Clara, Dottie, Charlotte, Horace, Luna, Lucy, Roxy, Faye, Tiffany, Shimmy, Curly Bright, Oliver, Sebastian, Alex, Bo, and Stormageddon very, very much for your continued or recent financial support. Goodness gracious, I know that we live in a cesspool right now where dollar bills are hard to come by, so the fact that you think this is worthy of throwing bills at, I agree, and I thank you. If you would like to throw your dollar bills in some financial capacity to me, you can find me at Viktor Devonne almost everywhere, including Cash App, Venmo, and WEBurlesque at gmail.com for PayPal. You can also go to WEBurlesque on the Patreon and throw me dollar bills there too. It seems so tacky, and yet it changes lives to ask for money. So there we have it. You're the best.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, a lot of it also is, in my estimation, is that while we do live in a hypersexualized world, so much of that is not built around consent, and so much of that is not built around the other person welcoming you. It's so one-sided. So if frankly all you're used to is magazines or JPEGs, then you're going to have a different view than, or even if you're going for a professional. If since sex work is work and OnlyFans is often sex work, there is a service position aspect to that. So there is a fantasy fulfillment that is sort of on demand. And in burlesque, while there absolutely is a fantasy element, traditionally, depending on the show, but traditionally, you're letting that audience in on something that they didn't necessarily subscribe for. They didn't necessarily say, put in these prompts, give me what I'm looking for. They're being challenged very frequently in body type, in ethnicity, in sexuality, in whether or not that person has any physical differences, disability, tattoos sometimes. They may not get what they were necessarily expecting. And then they also have to deal with the fact that this is a real person who will respond to them in kind. And suddenly there's all this other stuff going on too. And as cold and unfeeling and virtual reality as I feel like that we sometimes think our world leans into, so much of live entertainment bursts that completely.
Yeah.
And that's why I find that's so essential still. But I think that's one of the reasons that perhaps there is that challenge in the audience and that give and take. And that's what, that's crinkles. That's what makes it exciting as well. Is that, and I mean, I've never done sex work or club stripping per se, but the difference also in burlesque is I feel that is also this is what I'm showing you. This is what I've prepared. And you don't get to edit it. You get to feel it and see it. But this is a complete package for you.
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe like micro edits, like you get to like give little suggestions and I'll be like, yes. Yeah. We'll see.
Not everyone does. Some performers are very staunch. They do not bend.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
That is never more clear, I feel, than when there is no sightline and they insist on doing flow work. That means to me that you are not paying a damn bit of attention. That tells me, that off the bat tells me you are not paying you would be doing this in spite of an audience.
Yeah, you're like, I'm doing this entirely for me. Oh, you're here? Okay, great. Well, enjoy yourselves, I guess.
So much of your burlesque, I mean, so again, not to keep bringing it back to the one act of yours I've seen, but it is the one act of yours I've seen. It is interactive. It is a monologue, but it's to an audience because that's the nature of that song. It breaks the fourth wall. Partially because, the lyrics incline you to, but you don't have a physical person on stage. You don't have a Roxy to be telling this to. The audience is your Roxy. So when you are engaging with an audience, you're talking, you were working with them. Do you find that is indicative of a lot of your burlesque, or do you sometimes have acts that happen somewhat in spite of the audience, where there is a fourth wall?
I wouldn't say that any of my acts have a complete fourth wall at all. Like the thing I love most about any live performance, especially burlesque, is like the give and take of receiving audience interaction and interacting back with them. Also, most of my burlesque realistically is not on stage. Like I think a lot of cities, we don't have a lot of stage time in Vancouver. Most of our shows and all the shows that I had produced as well. So most of my performance experience is in floor show environments and in roaming environments. And that is entirely based on audience interaction from my perspective. I'll go up, I'll know where my hits are, I'll know when I'm going to be doing reveals and stuff like that. But I love not knowing what I'm walking into in any given show and just seeing what an audience member offers me and being able to bounce off of that. I think ultimately that's like where I'm my happiest performing because it's so intimate. And that fourth wall is so broken. Definitely in like some of my stage performances, especially something like what I'm doing at Behoff and stuff, the routine's set. I'm doing what I'm doing. I am very much like, I know it. I can turn off my brain and my body goes. But there's still that like eye contact. There's still those little micro moments of connecting with somebody and having something ever so different that wouldn't happen in the last performance because I just love leaving space for that.
Are you a competitive person?
Yes, I am. Yes.
It's good to know about oneself.
Yeah. It is good to know. I was competitive as a kid. I've always been competitive. I grew up doing a ton of sports. I loved competition. I definitely had an unhealthy approach to competition when I was younger and would be, I would say too competitive and would be too down on myself depending on certain results. I think that I've done work to unlearn that side of things, but the competitiveness is still there. It just shows up in a different way. But yeah, I love it. It challenges me. It gives me the opportunity. I always want to be putting my best foot forward when I step on stage, whether or not it's a competition or a show or whatever. But it just gives me that little extra push to be like, what else can I do? How else can I elevate this? And it puts me amongst people too that inspire me and make me grow. It's just, I love competition. I find it's a great motivating factor for me.
I enjoy it to a degree. And I've participated in a few recently, actually. So last year I did the Arizona Burlesque Festival and Mike Gritt's Atlanta Festival. They both wanted my Paper Moon act. So if the audience knows who that is, that's my Paper Moon act.
Yeah.
And it's not that I was more delighted and proud, frankly, that was considered a competition act than worrying about winning. Because it's not a glamorous act. It's not a showgirl act.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's actually not really an act where I engage directly with the audience either. It's sort of, there is a fourth wall. I look at them the entire time, but I'm looking past them. Because that's the narrative. That's the plot. That's the plot of it. So, of that. And so I just want to be a part of it. I just want to be reminded that I qualify for that kind of thing. Maybe get third if that comes up. But it's my favorite part is I guess sort of just being recognized in that regard. And there were there were two people actually, and I won't name them because I don't have permission to, but there were two people at the Hollywood Festival who said to me that they did not feel that they performed their best. And I said, I liked it a lot. And somebody said, oh yeah, it was great. And they were still going down on themselves on it. And I was like, so my rule, and I'm not always a rule follower, but I try. My rule is that if two people have complimented me or said I did well, then I'm wrong. I've been outvoted. And I try to take that into heart. Sometimes it depends on who's telling me. Because not everyone's opinion is truth. But if I believe them, then that's all that matters. That's really all that matters, isn't it? But I couldn't win shit on the East Coast, and I'm the kind of person who competed in a New Jersey Burlesque Festival as the only New Jersey Burlesque person in that category, and lost. So then I came over here and I won Mr. Hollywood, and that was never promised to me, and it was a delight. And I will remind you the day I die that happened anyway.
No, I'm very similar to you in that sense. I feel like that's, whenever I'm applying to something, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I just want to perform. I just want to get my ass on stage. I don't really care if it's a competition or if it's a showcase or whatever. But I agree with you in the sense of being like, whenever I do get into a competition, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my work was, it was qualified to be in this category of people. And my favorite thing is being in a room of people and being, not that burlesque is best or worst or anything, but like being like the least experienced or like the least qualified person in the room. I'm like, I get to perform amongst all these people that I admire and look up to and whose art wows me and stuff. And I feel like that's the thing that keeps pushing me back to being in these like competitive settings too, aside from being a competitive person already. I'm just like, I want to be amongst the people that I look up to. Like that's winning, like to me, like that's the goal. And so I've had the privilege of doing a few competitions this past year where that's really been the feeling for me. And I'm like, great. Like if I can keep pushing myself to be in those settings, like I'm thrilled.
Was Chanteuse the first win?
No.
Aha. What have you previously taken?
I have won the Heart of Ireland Burlesque Festival. Burlesque Festival. I won the Zurich Burlesque Festival. I won a festival in Germany called the Saarlorlux Burlesque Festival. I came in second at Imperial Burlesque Festival. I won Best Neo Burlesque at the Alberta Burlesque Rodeo. And am I forgetting any? I think that's it.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And that's a lot in a very short amount of time as well. So do you feel that you are the type of person that would, how do I phrase this? Because I don't want, if you don't win anything for a little while, not that I'm putting a curse on you or at all, but if there is a chance where you have a bit of a lull, because it's a lot at once, and I talked to Nami Flair about this, who has also recently won a shit ton of stuff, is on a great high right now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that the only way to go to is down, because I don't believe that to be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But because there is so many of us, and the odds are not always in our favor, do you think that you could go a period of time and maintain that gusto, or would you need to readjust at any point, do you feel?
I already know I'm going to need to readjust. I don't think I've ever seen anyone really maintain that gusto continually. It's such a cyclical community and art form. There's always people that are coming up with new things, and then you have your own creative lulls and yada yada. Every time that I get the chance to be in a competition and or come home with a title, I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, don't let it get to your head. Don't expect this at any point, because I also recognize that, like, the Chanteuse category, this is the first time I've won a title with that act. And most of my titles have been with one particular act, which is also the act that I'm taking to BHOF, which I also anticipate will not be in a ton of competitions after BHOF, because that's kind of the way that things go. And so I am acknowledging that, you know, that act took a long time to get where it's at, and it's the act that I feel most at home in. And other acts I have to date a little bit longer before I'm married to them. So, like, I don't think that a ton of what I have necessarily is going to be in a place where it's automatically stepping into a new royal court. It has a lot more familiarizing myself with it to be done. And I would love to get to a point at some point where I'm able to, like, take home more titles or, like, be in competitions with different acts and stuff. But I anticipate that there's going to be a little bit of a lull. I don't know. I haven't figured out my strategies yet for dealing with that, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
How much of an edit did you have to make for this act for BHOF? Was it, or did you already know this is the 4-minute act that I know I'm gonna? It was what it was. I have been performing it pretty much nonstop for the past, like, 3 years, and it's so. I feel like it's so complete right now. I'm getting into studio. I'm really lucky. La Dame Derriere is one of my good pals, and she's competing for mixed burlesque at BHOF this year. And so we're having some studio time together just to kind of finesse our acts. But I'm not doing a ton of coaching or getting a lot of outside opinions on it at this point, because I'm like, it got in how it is. I love it so much. I feel happy doing it, and I don't want to fuck with it too much, you know, like I want to be able to, like, put this thing on stage that it feels like a time capsule. Like, I've finessed it over time, and I feel like it's my baby, and I'm like, I want to take that baby home, you know, like I want to let her have her moment. Yeah. That is interesting. There is a certain, I don't know if it's true of all of us, but there certainly is a section of us that when we get accepted into something, then suddenly people are like, oh, I have to update that costume because now I'm in this festival. Like, but you got in, honey. Like, you already got the gig.
Yeah.
Who are you working for? Like, it is an interesting impulse.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we're always auditioning. Maybe that's what it is. We're always trying to,
Yeah. There is that also. I hate the saying too. I was talking about this with somebody in Hollywood this weekend. I hate the saying of being like, you're only as good as your last performance. Like, the idea that like you always have to be outdoing yourself, and kind of like bringing it back to what you were saying about like anticipating perhaps a lull and stuff too. Is like, I think as performers, we're very easily caught in the trap of like constantly needing to one up ourselves and being like, we have to do better than our last performance. We have to come out with a bigger punch. We have to do this and that and the other. And so really trying to undo that in my mind of being like, it doesn't have to be better every time. You can experiment with something new and you can flop, or you can be like, okay, that one kind of worked, or it's got room to grow. And yeah, really trying to keep that at the forefront of my brain, being like, it doesn't always have to be better.
It's difficult. It really is difficult. And I think one of the reasons that saying exists is because if you, it's sort of that law of perpetual motion, that if your act lulls, then you'll do it again in that way. Like it's hard to go up, like going up and down is not often in our motion. You, in theory, should always be at a certain level, right? So if you drop, that means that there's a chance that the next time that you do it, you'll drop again. Or
right.
At quote as that or what have you. It's so circumstantial in our field, though.
Yeah.
Our acts, not just for the wear and tear of who we are as human beings day to day, location, what the audience is feeling, if that act works in that space, if we're even doing that exact same act.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of working with a performer in New York when I was there for a long time, and there was just one act that I was doing. It was just the season for it, I guess. I did it 3 or 4 times within 2 months, and constantly at the same shows that this other performer was at. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, you're not going to see anything new from me." And they were like, "Oh no, I really like seeing how you change it every time." And I was like, I change it every time.
Like, yes, that's totally the plan.
Exactly. What they meant was they said so my strength is my face. I'm not a dancer by any means. I'm not a costumer, but my strength is my face, and I know that. So what they were referring to is that sometimes what they basically meant was that sometimes the act is sad and sometimes the act is funny. And I was like, yeah. That's so exciting. Let's see how I feel tonight. Let's see how that goes. And I mean, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But it really does. What that showed me was actually that was an instructor. That was a teacher also. That was somebody who saw development. And that means that act is still fluid. That means it's not in a certain place and therefore is flexible depending on what I'm going for. So
yeah.
And I like that in theater. I do. I like the idea of line reads in a different direction, or what giving weight to things. I think that's what makes it so exciting. It's so interesting, and that's what makes film adaptation so hard, because that therefore lives forever, right?
Yeah.
So, who are some of your personal inspirations? They don't have to be local artists. They can be celebrities. They can be people you had on your wall. Who were some of the people that were like idolized?
Okay, first of all, the person that I idolize most of all in my life is Kristen Wiig. I remember watching, I was a huge SNL gal when I was younger, and I remember watching her when she came on to the show, and I was like, oh my God, like just her specific brand of physical comedy was so inspiring to me. And obviously a different art form, but I feel like I took so much from that as a performer and as a person, just in the way that I like move through space and I present myself, especially on stage. I love what she does with her face and how elastic it is. And so I feel like that really gave me space to like play and perform for myself. Like I remember being at home when I was younger, and I would just sit in front of the mirror for hours and just like make different faces at myself and make different voices and like what their faces would look like with that voice and stuff too. So I feel like my elasticity in my face has come from her. As far as like burlesque goes, kind of always been drawn to the sort of artists that have the same sort of blend that I bring onto stage of kind of like a little bit of classic, a little bit of glamour, but then a lot of camp. I remember I started doing within the couple of years that I was doing burlesque was when like Margot Mayhem was like on her like uprise and like won best debut and stuff, and I was like, this. I remember she came to Vancouver for a show and just like watching the way that she played with the audience and incorporated comedy, but was still just like incredibly hot. I was like, that's the kind of thing that I love. Yeah. Always.
What a doll too. What a sweetheart.
What a doll. What a sweetheart too. Like on top of all that, I'm like, oh, you're also a cool person to hang out with. Like what a combination, you know? I'm always attracted to that style.
Yeah.
More than anything, yeah. Betty Bombshell, like the same sort of thing. Like I'm like every time I see her, I'm just like, you're so gorgeous and the way you move is incredible. And then you just have this like massive campiness to you, and I just love that. Yeah.
Well, again, it's that sort of accessibility. It's that friendly sensuality as well.
Exactly.
Where you don't necessarily think you're cool enough to hang with them.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you that you are, and that's okay.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'm in. Great.
You did start after the pandemic then.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I started taking classes in 2019, and then my first ever performance on stage was like a group act in the school that's in our city. And it was like March 16th, 2020 or something like that. It was like literally the next day, like while our show was going on, they were like, okay, we're officially sold out because the capacity for the show just halved. And we were like, what's going on? And then the next day was like everything shut down. So I fell in love with this thing the day before shutdowns. And then I spent the whole shutdown time just like sopping it up like soup. And then as soon as I got the chance, I bursted out and started doing stuff.
So there are a couple of people who did digital burlesque for their first round. That was not you.
No, my first round was in person, and then I did a lot of digital after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was your experience with that?
I hated it. It was.
You need the audience. You need that person. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I hated it. Also, like, I'm not a trained dancer. You know, like I found that following steps on a computer was difficult, and I'm such a person, which is why I was like, I have to have my face on here to talk to you. Like, I'm just like, I love connecting with people as closely to like physically as possible. I find that I get a lot out of that. And so trying to learn from people, trying to like replicate the student environment of being with your peers online was really difficult. And I have so much grace and applause for the teachers that kept it alive, because ultimately it was so much better than nothing. And they did such a good job. But I feel like so many of us felt it, where you would just like do your thing and then you would close your Zoom after and you'd be like, I feel weird. Like you don't get that same sort of like endorphin high.
From like pick these things off the ground now.
Exactly. Yeah.
I found I was better at video if I was editing it, because then I didn't do burlesque. I would perform straight through, but I would do a lot of other shit that I could like splice in to sort of mix it up a little bit. Just doing it straightforward just wasn't my vibe.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of treat it like and I'm not a video editor.
Yeah.
But I can fake it.
Yeah.
And I can pretend.
Yeah.
And I feel my live show in New York our last show was in January of 2020. Not that we knew at all what was going to happen. It just so happened that I was moving to Southern California. Officially, fully. I'd been back and forth for years at that point. And then I don't think I did a digital anything until the fall. I sort of crumbled in. I didn't really know how to participate. And looking back, they're sort of like, oh, I wish I had done more. Because seeing some of the, I don't know. And some of that's also an element of the Silver Tusk Awards, because the last couple of years we've had a video component. We've had video acts. And it's so hard to get people to want to do video acts.
Yeah.
That I don't really know what the future of that category is, frankly. I really don't. Because it's such a different mindset and skill set. It really, really is. But I do like it. Like it. When it's done very well, video burlesque can still be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that the people that like it are still kicking with it, and it's kind of narrowing down fewer and fewer. We also have like a virtual component of our festival called the Virtual Vaudeville, and so there's always a night of video acts on like the Sunday, and it's kind of gotten to the point, not entirely, but there's a lot of repeat offenders, like repeat people that are like still in the category, but their art virtually is getting so much more complex and better, and they can bring their editing skills to it in a way that most of us can't. And so I'm happy that that lives on for the people that are passionate about it, but it is, I feel like it's difficult for the me's or you's of the world that are like, well, this isn't where I necessarily thrive. Like, I don't feel necessarily called to doing this without the impetus of having a global pandemic.
Yeah. And that's the thing also, is it was such a moment in time, not that I either do or do not anticipate that ever happening again. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if that were to happen again, we would still be in a different place in technology and our lives. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you imagine if that had happened at this point of AI? Like, it would have been entirely different world.
Whoa. That is so true. Wow. Yeah. I hadn't considered that. That's interesting.
We had to use the wrinkled curtain behind us. We didn't have any other choice. Now, we're dealing with, iPhones probably have had the same relative video technology the last 5 years or so, but still, so things are different. And now everything can be edited in Canva and,
Yeah, absolutely. It's also interesting hearing you talk about being like, oh yeah, I didn't do virtual performance until like the fall, and looking back on it, like maybe I could have done this or that or the other. I also think that we forget like how weird that time was, like it's hard to think of it now because we're distanced from it, but like it was so uncertain and murky, and I think so many of us just froze or like just didn't know what. Yeah, it's scary, 100%. And it's totally normal human experience to be like, oh, you know what? I don't have a creative spark right now. Yeah. Like, the world is crumbling. I don't know what's going on.
People are actually dying. Why am I not dancing? It's such a fucked up. Exactly. It's such a fucked up perspective. I know. Why don't I want? Well, but there was. I don't know if you remember, but there was sort of a sort of like, oh, good art will thrive now because everyone will have everyone can write.
Yeah.
I'm like, everyone can write King Lear, and I'm like, first of all, go fuck yourself, and second of all, because it's another thing is like, why are we putting it? Why can't we just rest? What is this gig culture when we can't even go outside?
100%, yeah, that part exactly, and that's already so ingrained in me. Like, I'm such a what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Kind of mindset, and then when it's on us externally too, in these like really. Overuse this word again, unprecedented times. Like, no, why can't we not just be like, we're not doing this right now? Like, that's fine.
Hey, this is Viktor Devonne, and I like socks. I've always been very open about my appreciation for the fabric that goes on my feet, and I want you to enjoy them too. Please go to footclothes.com. Look at the variety of fabulous novelty socks that do not suck, and indulge. You can get 10% off now with the name Viktor Devonne as a promo code. That's VIKTORDEVONNE. Put it all together, no spaces, and enjoy.
Tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Hooray!
Hey!
Yeah.
It's kind of Piper Laurie and Brenda Vaccaro at A Love Child.
Thank goodness.
I want to know her.
Nails. Yeah, where's her series? That's what I want.
She's fabulous.
The son is Joaquin Phoenix.
I know. Isn't that nuts? And he is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey, remember when this guy was in this obscure Broadway show in 1976?
Right. Look at him in those tight pants. Yum.
Well, because there's not a lot really going on. It's unless you're listening to the dialogue, which, frankly, audience at home, you can do without us. We're just learning
do your own work.
Some of these backstory. But Boswell put her up to it.
Yeah.
And then Trish had to be killed because she realized that Boswell didn't have her interests at heart because Teddy was the inheritor.
Yeah.
Playing her like a fiddle.
Boswell knew it, and Trish just gulped it down like one of those martinis.
And then tossed it onto the In-law.
And then lost her head. Poor Trish.
Trish loses her head.
This is Viktor Devonne.
And this is Petra Fried.
And this is Tonight
on Murder, She Wrote.
Hello, kitty cats, and welcome to Tales and Tassels, the show where you pounce into the lives of burlesque and nightlife performers, their craft, their cats, and how the two worlds intertwine. I'm your host, Gemma Smith. By day, I'm a manager at a kitten nursery, and by night, I host the Cat Beret, New York City's cat-themed variety show. This podcast is for cat-loving creatives. Whether you're twirling your tassels on stage, chasing your next big idea, or just trying to keep your cat off your keyboard. Season 1 is streaming now, with interviews, solo episodes, and bonus chats with feline experts. And Season 2 will be back this October with even more. I'm truly passionate about growing a community of curious, creative, and cat-loving humans. New episodes drop every other Thursday. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Tales and Tassels Pod, and send in your stories or questions to talesandtasselspod@gmail.com. You might just hear them in a future episode. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad you're here. Take care, and until next time, kitty cats.
And there were people, I mean, they probably are a little bit more quiet about it now because it seems like such a privileged existence. But there were people who I'm sure were like, oh, thank God we had this. I feel I needed that rest. I needed that time. I liked all of that. Again, that's sort of an interesting perspective when there was so much trauma going on in the world.
Yeah.
And that was also like keeping in mind that was also not even followed. It was amidst the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor
100%. Yeah.
There was a great deal of civil unrest and adjustment that we are now still barely coming to terms with.
Mm-hmm.
Because that ripple effect, had we not had Eric Adams and Sandra Bland videoed, then we wouldn't have necessarily had that whole thing with the exposure that we had then with Floyd and Taylor wasn't videoed, but the press on it, you know what I mean, then how that's transferred over into the Ice Age. I didn't mean it that way. But I
just heard that back. Yeah,
I didn't think about it. But in this age of ICE basically being in every news component and being vilified as well as celebrated, and that really drawing a line, as well as how, you know, the war in Gaza has been monetized, essentially, how things are going in, like, I still don't know what's going on in Venezuela. I can't keep up. I think we still have him. I think they're still here somewhere. And not to chapel Roan, but to sort of say it's hard to keep up, and it's hard to do that. As artists and entertainers, we both have to acknowledge and be cognizant of it, and yet also not say, hey, audience, by the way, here's your trauma, let me wiggle it in front of you, don't you feel bad too?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very fine line between being political and being aware and knowing how to advocate without being like, okay, I'm gonna trauma dump and then I'm gonna show you my tits right away. Like, it's
right.
Yeah.
And it's hard because then we also put that pressure on our marginalized colleagues, or our more marginalized colleagues, whether it's more visibly or invisibly marginalized, and they get to have fun too. We all just get to have fun too.
Yes.
And yet, how dare we have fun? It's such a complicated notion.
It is a really complicated notion. And then I also remind myself, I think about this a lot because yeah, like you were saying, obviously there's a responsibility as artists to be aware of the context that we're living in and not be living in this dissociative existence and putting your blinders on. And there's also, I feel, as somebody who needs their own form of joy and escape and where I go to find that. And then I'm also reminded that, I am that for people too, like whether it's online, they're coming to see whatever stupid reel I'm putting out, or they're going to my shows and they just want to be able to just be amongst people and be in live audience and stuff, like I'm also like, okay, this is the place where people come to just be together and to breathe and to laugh and to like experience art. And so what is that perfect mix, like what is the awareness and the integration of that awareness versus being like, okay, y'all, like let's just laugh together for a bit. Let's just like be together for a bit. Yeah.
We come to this place for magic. You got very close to Nicole Kidman right there.
Yeah.
I love it. No, and it's real. It's real. And there's no real right answer to it because entertainment has existed as long as there has been war. And as long as there has been displacement. Yeah, it's rough. What else besides the stage gives you joy? What else do you enjoy doing? Do you have hobbies or interests or things that percolate?
Yeah. Well, right beside me right now is my dog smushed between a bunch of pillows. And so
Tell me about your dog.
Oh, he's the cutest little boy.
Oh my goodness, that's a big boy too.
Yeah, he's a big boy. His name's Levon. He's wonderful. He's an absolute mutt, high in 67. I have no idea what he is. He's an excellent blend of like energy and just like a piece of furniture. Like when we're out together, he's ready to rock. He's like, "What are you doing, Mom? I'm with you 100%." And then when we're home, he's like, "I just want to snuggle," and it's great. And so with that, my original source of joy is nature. Like I am a big hiker, runner, biker, swimmer, paddler, whatever, what have you. There's a reason that I live in Vancouver. I love being outside. I'm happiest when I have like one bag of all of my essentials and nothing else and like no plans to go home. And I'm just like in the dirt. That's when I'm like at my truest form. And so all the rhinestones and the glitz and the glam, like that came later in life. That's a new addition. But that's my happy place.
You're so earthy.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm not a camper by any means. I did when I was an adolescent, but it was a way to just sort of hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
Same reason I went to baseball games. But he was ecumenical. He also took me to Hello Dolly.
Oh yes, that's awesome.
So yeah, I am not an outdoorsy kind of person, really. In terms of Vancouver, I know that especially we as Americans, are that's sort of a view of everything sort of being wilderness in Canada. We sort of view it as like the forest. And I've spoken to a few Vancouverians over the last couple of years. What is your particular area? Like, are you fairly removed from the city or?
No, I'm in Vancouver proper. Like I live in a pretty populated neighborhood, just outside of the city center. And so it still takes me a good, 40-minute drive to get to the mountains. But even within the city, like there's the beach and there's like little forested areas. We got a lot of green space. And so I can find my little havens quite easily just by being on my bike. And it's good stuff. I remember my favorite thing is when I can blend the two. Like I remember doing my West Coast tour a couple of years back, and like we would like stay in the cities and stuff when I was performing, and then in the moments in between, I would just be like starfishing on the beach or like on top of a mountain. I remember like being in a tent at one point, like prepping my hair for the next day by like headlamp, and I just was like doing my curlers, getting ready, and I was like, I am at my truest form right now. Like this is the ultimate blend. Yeah.
Do you think you could ever do like a Naked and Afraid or even like a Survivor situation where you cut off ties?
No, I think I'd be ready for death quite early. I'm like, I've had a few close calls in the wilderness. The kind that, like, in retrospect, I'm like, that could have gotten really bad really fast. And if it started to get bad, I think I'd be like, take me world. I'm like, I don't know. Like, when it comes down to like actual survivalist stuff, like, I'm prepared. I know how to handle things. I'm pretty good in like emergencies when I'm out in the wild and stuff. But like real stuff, like 72 hours or something like that, like, I'm like, uh-oh. I think I would just be a fainting goat. Like, I would just like fall asleep and be like, I can't deal with it.
Take me. Just let it take me. Just let the exposure take me. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. I'm not a survivalist. In any means. There's a severe part of me that's sort of like, I have no intention of surviving any of this. If it were take me out of my misery, please. I don't care if you then have to eat my flesh, but take me out of my misery.
I'll be done. I won't know at that point. It's fine.
I don't want to survive the plane crash, frankly. Like, I just feel like that's just not my vibe.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, really what that says about me, but I'm also one of those people who is sort of really realistic about my threshold. Like, I am incredibly impressed at, the unhoused population and people who travel and in sort of this vagabond world. And I'm like, and I know that a lot of that is systems that have fucked them over, and therefore it's not a choice really. But I'm not a thriver in that sense.
Yeah, discomfort. I'm just in the way that I've spoken about, I'm happy being quite uncomfortable. I'm happy touring and performing on 1 hour's sleep a couple of nights in a row. Like, it's fine. But then when it comes down to my threshold, I'm like, yeah, that's where I tap out. Like, I have no interest in extreme sports. Like, I always am like, if the chances of me dying are 50% or higher, like, I'm not doing it. Like, the people that are like free soloing the sides of buildings and stuff, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't need that kind of thrill. Like, I'm happy for like a little bit of scare and like adrenaline, no problem. But like, if I'm probably gonna die, I'm not in. Count me out.
Yeah, you know what? Just write me a good article. Make me a documentary. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Let me live on.
As I was.
Yeah.
So in addition to your interest in nature and sort of experience, have you had that opportunity to experience that in these other countries that you've been to as well? Or
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite experiences was when I was performing in Italy a couple years ago. I got to take myself on a road trip to the Dolomites, which is like this beautiful mountain range in the north. And I've done like some of my absolute favorite hiking up there. And I think I was just rocking around solo up there for like 4 days or something, just hiking every day, waking up, hiking, going get food, doing an evening hike, and then going back. And so I usually try, and then once again, like I was talking about on this West Coast tour that I was doing, I think we had like a few days off. I was with my partner at the time and my dog, which was so lovely. And we would have like days off in between things in Portland, where I was just like on the coast and was just bopping around there doing my thing. When I did the Panama Burlesque Festival, I took a 5 days on either end of the festival. And like the first 5 days I was surfing, and then the 5 days afterwards I was hiking in the country and stuff. And so part of the reason that I love traveling for gigs when I have the chance to is to be able to see somewhere that I've never been before. And I'm like, if I can integrate this other passion of mine, this like traveling and wanderlust and like outdoor adventure person, with the opportunity to do a show here and there, I'm like, that's great. And so my suitcase is usually this like chaotic array of like rhinestone heels and then like a backpacking backpack or like a cycling bib or something like that. And I'm like, okay, if TSA was to open this, they'd be like, wait, what's your plan again? Like, where are you going?
So you mentioned that you had also been with your partner. Do you also do this on your own fully as well? Are you a solitary person very frequently too?
Yeah, mostly I'm on my own. It's great. He's had the chance to come with me a few places that I've been and some of the tours that I've done and stuff. But with the trip I was referencing in Italy, that was on my own. And I'm going back to Europe for a month in April. That's on my own as well. Like I love traveling with my people when I get the chance to, but I love traveling alone. Like just the ability to wake up any morning and be like, what are we doing today? It's fun. I keep good company for myself.
Yeah. But that's another thing too, is that there's sort of a viewpoint of sort of like the lonely road, like the traveler, and that's where the personal demons will get you. Like we hear about that a lot in terms of, some of our legends, not burlesque legends, but like our icons, like our Judy Garlands, or even like our comedians, that's the road is such a lonely beast, but not for everybody. Some of us work well by themselves, and I am for someone who I can get lonely, but I get like cosmically lonely versus literally lonely. I am okay by myself. But I do love my creature comforts, and I'm not a nature person, so throw me in a hotel and I'll manage. But I'm also one of those people that unless I'm rooming with someone at a lot of these festivals, I don't explore the cities. And I know that's terrible, and I know that's such a waste, but I will go the night before the festival. I will, depending on what night I am, I'm very frequently the first night, but whatever night I am, I will then do tech, I'll do the show, and then I'll like hang out in the hotel until I go to see the shows. Like it's just not, unless somebody says, hey, do you want to go get lunch? Or hey, do you want to walk around? Sure. But I'm not the first person to do it.
Yeah, that's fine though. Like know your interests, and then know what your capacity is too. Like sometimes, especially I think the thing that we forget is when and I don't know, do you do work outside of performance? Do you have like a full-time gig or no?
It's sort of. I'm mostly doing this, and so I do the pod. I have and some administration stuff that I do. But I co-run an unsuccessful website business that isn't really doing anything right now. So I spent a lot of time just doing burlesque shit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But that's like before, like for a few years when I started burlesque, I had a full-time job, and then I would go to these shows or festivals on the weekend, or I would go travel when I had the chance. And I would always have this pressure on myself of doing all these things. And then I would remember that I'm like, this is technically my weekend or my vacation time. So like I also do need to just like sit in a hotel room sometimes. And now that I'm not doing full-time work outside of burlesque, I'm like, okay, great. I'll actually have time to like whatever. But I'm like, no, now I'm a gig worker and I'm technically always working. And so like it's still, no matter what your thing is, like it's still okay to be like, I don't need to I don't care if I'm in LA. I don't care if I'm in wherever the fuck at Paris. Like I'm like, I do need to just like have a little bit of like binge time, like I just need to have recharge time. I'm a human being primarily. If I don't want to go out and do that thing, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, that is, I guess, part of also like that grind viewpoint is that even if you're not working every day, and I've spoken to people who, like Charlie Quinn Starling is a Vegas performer. She's working almost every single day. Sometimes twice in one day. And then I also have people who are like take months and then perform again, and then months and then perform again. And by no means are either of those people doing more work per se than the other. It's just an entirely different life. Yeah. And that's often thrown by every other curve that the world has sent them, because they're dealing with family stuff. We have parents in burlesque. We have people who are dealing with their own parents in hospice, or they're taking care of their spouse. It's such a different. We all have all these different things, and then we also have burlesque. Even if burlesque is full time for us. Yeah. So,
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
This past year, I've talked about this before, but like my mom died last year. And so, it's the same, like I didn't work for like a month after her passing because I was like back home visiting family, helping my dad readjust and stuff. And then I went on to travel from there and tour pretty much right after that. And so like, yeah, it's that kind of goes back to that COVID conversation too, of being like, well, I technically have more time now, but I'm like, but you're still a human dealing with life things. And you're like, that takes a lot of time. And even when you're resting, you're not resting because you're grieving, you're recharging.
Grief is full time. Grief is 70 hours a day. Yeah. No.
And then some. Like, it's crazy how much it takes out of you. And so, like, yeah.
Not to get too personal, but did you have to cancel gigs that were planned? Yeah,
I did. I actually was supposed to go to Hollywood last year for the same thing, and she died like 3 days before the festival or something, and I had to cancel last minute. And graciously, like, Miss Ben and Veronica are so wonderful, and they were like, no questions, like, come back next year, it's okay. But I had to cancel a fair amount of gigs in that time, and then I had to cancel a lot of gigs after, which was the hardest part because, you know, like, grief is such a wild beast, and you never know when it's going to rear its head and stuff like this. And so I canceled the shows immediately. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's expected. But then there were a bunch of shows after, whether they were a lot of traveling gigs, especially, where I was like, I can't physically do this. Or because I had to have all this time where I wasn't working, where I was like, oh, I had agreed to this 2 months ago or 3 months ago or whenever it was that I had signed the contract, but I'm like, I can't afford to get there anymore. Like, I don't have the means to do this. I remember canceling a show in August in Montreal because I just hit a low point, and I was like, I couldn't even bring myself to the computer to like begin to plan it. I was just like so engulfed in all of it. So yeah. And I'm not you know, as a recovering people pleaser, it's hard to do that. I'm like, oh, I technically could do this show. And it's like, you can't. Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm married to a civilian who is a creative, but not a performer. So he's a writer. He's a writer, but by day he's an educator. So he's in academia. But he's not an entertainer. So every once in a while, he and I will have a difference of minds when it comes to how we handle things or what is expected of ourselves or what we expect of ourselves. And he is far more forgiving on my behalf. I'm like, we can't do everything. We have to do this. And yet, when it's him, he has to do everything as well. And then we have to do that for each other. And it's always interesting to sort of see, like, oh, no, we are very similar in that regard. Yeah. But we don't see it in ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
We have no self-awareness whatsoever in that regard. But there's one. Are you familiar with Bob's Burgers?
Marginally, not much.
You're aware that the lead characters are Bob and Linda, and one is sort of like a staid, sort of deadpan, and one is like sort of at 11 at all times. I say very frequently that he and I, another comparison would be Kermit and Miss Piggy. It's not that one of us is Linda and Miss Piggy and one of us is Kermit and Bob. We both are both of those.
Yeah.
It just depends on the shift. And that's why we work well together, is because we're capable of both of those things.
Yes.
And not to judge anyone's relationship, but I think one needs to consider, if one person is all one thing, I don't know how you complement that. Personally, I think you need someone who has a little capability of both. So he can whimsy it up, but he also is a bit more level-headed than I am.
Yeah.
But he also is a forest and I'm a trees. Or wait, is it that? Yeah, he's more of the forest and I'm the trees. He's more, well, what do we do when I retire in 15 years? And I'm like, so I have this gig in 2 weeks. Is that all right? Is that we can plan around that, right? Like, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's my brain too. That's my brain. Yeah.
I've never been able to plan for 15 years in the future.
Oh God. When anyone talks to me about a 5-year plan, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 5 years. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah.
I don't know. I just know when
I'm like, I got to go get groceries.
I'm doing my taxes. What do you want? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might
I'm literally
be in 15 days. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, genuinely, this is exactly where I'm at right now. I'm like, I have to do my taxes, and then I have to go to Europe. I'm like, don't talk to me about anything else. That's it.
That's fair. Well, thank you for making time for this.
No, I'm happy to. This is great. This is one of those things that I'm like, you know how you have your list of to-dos, and you're like, okay, I want to do these things, and then there's those murky things at the bottom. You're like, I don't want to touch those. You messaged me, and I was like, well, this is obviously the most important thing that I need to be doing right now. This is bumping up to the top of the list. It's fun. And mostly it's fun. So let's do that one.
Yeah. I try not to trauma dump too deeply. Yeah. Well, then that's the thing too, is that so few of us get it out. Like, we didn't actually speak at the Hollywood Festival. We were both in the same room, and we did not have an opportunity to meet. So this was in lieu of that. But one of the great pleasures that I have at festivals is meeting people and connecting with them, and also seeing what they do on stage, because that is like meeting them in a lot of different ways. I do have a producer brain. I'm not actively producing right now. So the way I book right now is through the pod. That's my way of connecting and amplifying. You know, if I find you worthy of amplifying, I don't think you should take that lightly.
Oh, well, gosh, thank you.
So in addition to preparing for Europe and Vegas, so you'll be going to Europe and then Vegas after that, or the other way around?
Yeah, Europe, and then I come home for about 3 days, and then I hit the road again.
Busy. You're flying, I'm assuming, into Vegas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is this your first?
I'm flying down to Phoenix. I have a gig in Phoenix the weekend prior. Oh, no, sorry, not Phoenix, in Arizona the weekend prior, and then I'm doing a little road trip up to Vegas with that crew.
Nice. Yeah. Is this your first time attending the Weekender?
No, I got to compete previously in a group act 2 years ago. And
I would have seen you. What did you do?
I was in the Betties and the Tempest group.
Please remind me of the act.
The act is like there's multiple Betty pages, and we have this giant boa, and we're all wearing like the slutty like maid outfits, and then Tempest comes out with Arabella Boop, and then we are all like pampering to her.
Yes. I recall the Arabella and the Betty pages. Yes. It's all coming back to me now. I have a non-concrete connection with names on occasion, but if I remember an act, I remember that act. So
yeah.
Couldn't tell you everything.
I feel that way.
But yeah,
I feel that way about acts and faces. I'm like, I was talking about this with my friend the other day. I have like a photographic memory of meetings. Like, I can like meet somebody one time and be like, I'll see them again at a festival like 2 years later. I'd be like, oh, we've met before. Like, we had that conversation about how you really like pickles. And they're like, what? Like, how do you remember that? And I'm like, I won't remember your name, but I'll like remember everything about what we talked about. And then,
that's my compensation for not remembering your name. Is by saying, I was at BurlesqueCon, and I saw Margot Manifesto do a great act for the, what do you call it? The peer review. And it was fabulous. And I wanted to say hello to her after the show because I thought it was spectacular. And so we were in the little hanging out room, and she sits down next to me, and I was like, oh, this is so great, because I was going to come up to you. And she says, like, it's so nice to see you again. And I was like, oh shit. And I've said this to her, so she knows this isn't me talking to out of and I was like, you drove me to the after party in Ohio that year. We do know each other. And she's like, yes, that's true. I did. I'm so sorry. The last time I saw you were dressed as a box spring mattress. I don't know what to tell you.
She's like, yeah, I get that a lot.
But it was such a brain switcheroo. But you know, you give me a ride, and I will also remember that, because that was a connection moment. So. Exactly. So like, I'm so sorry. It's not that I don't remember you. It's that I have forgotten. I know too many. Yeah, and I don't expect anyone to ever recognize me. I don't know. I mean, though that's one reason I keep all these pictures behind me when I do the Zoom, to say that's what I look like in real life. Audience at home, not to break the illusion, I'm not in makeup right now. I mean, everything else. I have pasties and a G-string on, but not makeup. No.
I would expect nothing less.
But I mean, this face is not what a lot of folks see typically.
Yeah.
No, but even when I'm in full makeup, I don't know if you've met me. And I have been mistaken for one or two other people in the past, even in the Crown White before. So it happens. It happens.
Yeah. Well, I always joke too. Yeah. One, I have a hard time recognizing people out of drag, even if they don't have the full face that you have. I feel like we all look very different than what we look like on stage. People don't recognize me all the time when I look like this, or when I look like when I'm in full face and stuff. I also I swear I have the most doppelgangers in the world. Like, there's got to be a Guinness Book of World Records for this or something. The amount of times, both in the burlesque world and in like normal life, where people are like, "Oh, I know you. You're so and so," and I'm like, "Nope." And the spectrum of, because I'm always like, show me a photo, I want to see. And then the spectrum of people that look exactly like me is wildly different. And I'm like, there's something about...
You're not famous YouTuber Jenna Marbles? I don't understand.
Apparently not. Or people like, especially because I've worked in service for a long, like many years on and off and stuff like that. And the amount of people that I'll be like at their table and like, "You're dating my cousin, aren't you?" And I'm like, I am definitely not. Like, I'm just like, there's some, I got to find an army of all of the doppelgangers out there one day and just get them all in one room and see if there's some semblance of familiarity.
That's funny. That's funny. Before I let you go, and I thank you for being so generous with your time and learning just a little bit. Just there's only so much, but I get to see you in a couple of about a month and a half, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be at the Weekender. In addition to those exciting things and allowing yourself also decompression time and space and all of that, what do you look for as an attainable goal? What are some of those murky things at the bottom that you say, you know what, I want to throw a shot at them at some point?
Yeah. I was just talking about this to Juna Bay because they were asking me at a festival recently about goals as well. And I'm like, I realized that I'm not a goals person. Like, it kind of going back to the conversation of us being like, I don't know what I'm doing after the next 2 weeks. You know, like, I'm a yes person. And I find that because I'm somebody I'm really curious about things. I have a lot of excitement. Like, I'm a very excitable person. And I think the combination of those two things pushes me in the direction of really cool opportunities. And then I say yes to them. And so I think that that's kind of gotten me where I'm at in burlesque and in life in general. And I'm really happy to ride that. Like, I'm happy to just kind of like I love not knowing what's going to be next. And I love not attaching myself to a goal because it gives me the opportunity to say yes to things that I wouldn't have expected. And it's gotten me to where I am now, and I don't know where it's going to take me. And I'm pretty happy with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Let's have fewer things planned, and because all that's gonna happen is things gonna fuck it up anyway. Like the scheduling is all gonna. And we have to allow ourselves for that. We have to allow ourselves.
Yeah.
Don't do the floor work if there aren't sight lines. There we go.
Exactly. Amen. Full circle.
Tell the folks at home the ways they can keep in touch with all your goings on.
Yes. You can follow me on Instagram at Vita Devour. That's where you'll see all of my stuff. If you're ever in a city that I'm coming to, or if you're in Vancouver, you can check out my link tree in my bio and you can see the shows there. And also, if you're like, I don't know where to find you, reach out. Feel free to send me a DM. Or if you're a producer or a person in the performance world, email me. That's also in my Instagram as well. I'm always happy to chat. We set up this interview in a matter of days. So I'm super open to collabs and conversations. So yeah, I don't bite, I promise.
All right. Well, with a name like Devour, where did that come from if you don't bite?
It's true, actually. I bite consensually, let me be clear. But no, the Vita Devour is to like ravenously consume life is the meaning.
Damn. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. I find you a delight, and I'm glad have met you officially, and then officially meet you at the Weekender. You will probably have to say, "Oh yeah, it's me, Vita, again." it will probably be one of those sight things. But
that's totally fine.
It's one of the great pleasures of doing the Weekender and being at a hospitality desk is that everyone has to come to me anyway. So
that's so nice.
Yeah. And everyone's sweatpants showgirl anyway. So everyone already sort of has an understanding that no one's going to know who anyone is.
Yeah.
But thrive. I manifest great things for you because I see not only great talent in you, but I see an excellent perspective. And I think that those things in line can only give you greatness. So I look forward to
thank you.
Yeah. And I truly mean it. I was delighted. Like, that's the best way I can describe it when I saw you at the Hollywood Festival. I really, really was. Because again, it's so easy to lean into the obviousness when it comes to you didn't become Velma Kelly. You were Vita Devour telling the same story, using the same lyrics, but you were I was very, very pleased. I don't mind a recreation, but I was so delighted by your presentation of it. So
thank you so much.
I look forward to your debut in Vegas and seeing how what you bring to that one.
I'm so excited. Thank you. And thank you for the kind words. It was really lovely to get to meet you and get to chat and get to know you better too. I'm really happy we got to do this.
Yes. Safe travels as you continue to work the world. And hopefully, I don't know when I will find myself in Canada again. I do have some friends in Vancouver, some colleagues that I've gotten to talk on the pod and meet in person. I don't know when that's going to happen, but at one point or another, may we share a stage either domestically or abroad.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure it will happen. If you ever make your way up to Canada, send me a line. It would be lovely to see you, but I'm sure that we'll cross paths somewhere in the world sometime soon.
Fabulous. Well, be well.
Yeah.
Mwah.
You too.
It's a pleasure.
Take care.
WEBurlesque the podcast, created, developed, and edited by Viktor Devonne. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. WEBurlesque the podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use. Please visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow WeBurlesque and Viktor Devonne on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Viktor Devonne and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other materials property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode, and all episodes thereafter, are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. And that's it.
Woohoo!